Hello, everybody. It's 9:15. 9:15 is my 9 o'clock. Takes me a few minutes to get grounded in the morning, and so usually, 9:15 is when things kind of kick off. So, I wanted to come on today so that we can talk about body types. So, I am doing this live from my phone because I have something on my screen that I want to show you, and I couldn't necessarily do that just in a live, like on Facebook. So, hey Aubrey, if you guys are watching, please feel free to say hi. I'd love to know who's on. If you have questions, please post them in the comments, and hopefully I can see them. Sometimes I feel like I don't see them. Hey Christina. Okay, so let's get started. We are gonna talk about body types. This is probably one of the biggest challenges that I think sometimes people have, because it seems like it should be cut and dry, but sometimes it isn't always. So I want to start out and just talk generally. I also meant to pull up my guy body type stuff. So generally, when you're dressing clients, your sole focus is to create balance. And I think this was mentioned by Carson in another post on in the Beyond group. And so what you're trying to do is you're just balancing the body type visually. So the ideal body shape for women is just that hourglass, right? So up top, a smaller waist, and then kind of bigger on the bottom. And you want those two to be equal, and then you want the smaller waist. So that is our goal. So I like to kind of talk about that before getting into the specific body type things. Sorry, bear with me. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize. I'm trying not to say sorry all the time. But I am pulling up some things for men, dressing for men body types that I wanted to show you guys. Okay. So for women, the ideal body type is that hourglass. For men, you are looking kind of for an inverted triangle. That's going to be the ideal body type. Hi, Amanda. So again, we are just seeking for balance. And something I talk to my clients a lot about is we're basically almost creating like fashion magic or fashion illusions, that it doesn't necessarily matter what body type you have, but it's about creating that balance. So there are basic body types, and then there are also body shapes. So let's run down the ones for women, and I will show you. This guy's one doesn't have it. I know. Sorry, was not prepared. I didn't have these pulled up. So for women, you're gonna get a little preview of something that I made myself that I can share with clients, and that I've shared in groups for different things. And so I would encourage you to make something similar. So let me reverse this. All right, so for women, you have 5 basic body types, and obviously you guys know that there is the fruit body types, and something that I like to do that we also learned at School of Style is to just do bigger on the top, bigger on the bottom, bigger in the middle, proportionate, which is that hourglass, and then no curves, straight up and down. So 5 basic body types for women. Now, bigger on the top, people love visuals. So Christina Hendricks is a great example of bigger on top, which means she has a larger bust. So for her, she really needs to do things that are going to, again, balance her body type and distract the eye almost. So I love this first image because yes, she has the scarf on top, but because she also has the printed floral pants, that's going to balance out her body type, giving her some interest on the bottom. Here, again, it's very busty. You can tell it's very busty, but that fuller midi skirt is really letting you balance the bottom half of her body, okay? Bigger on the bottom, American Ferrera, Mindy Kaling is also a good example. So you can see with both of these ladies, darker things on the bottom, lots of interest happening up top, so that even if the eye is going to the bottom because it's bigger, it then is also going to go up to the top, and that's going to balance that out. Bigger in the middle, Drew Barrymore is an example. Again, you want to just create a defined waist. So in both of these instances, she has a sash, she has something that's helped creating a defined waist. The prints on the top and the wider legs on the bottom is creating that balance. The halter neck here is defining her chest, and the print on the bottom is again balancing. So you want to think through, what can people wear, where can they wear it, that's going to help them balance. Straight up and down, Natalie Portman is a good example. And here you're really just faking it till you make it kind of thing. So again, things to define in the middle, things to give volume and attention up top. And then I think she's kind of almost has some like wide-legged or boot cut flared pants on the bottom there. So balance, balance, balance. And then proportionate. So proportionate is quote unquote the ideal body type. Your bust and hips are equal in measurement, and you have a defined waist. So here with Scarlett Johansson, you're really just kind of playing up those figures. The biggest thing with this body type is it can easy to go like too sexy. So if you're gonna wear bodycon dresses all the time, you're gonna look really, really bombshell, and that may not be the look you're going for. So here you can see she's just playing up the natural balance of her shape, which is perfect. So Amanda says, putting a belt on a bigger waist, wouldn't that draw that attention to the waist? I think it depends, Amanda, on what else you're wearing. Like with Drew Barrymore, she's maybe quote unquote bigger in the middle. I'm gonna turn the quote unquote bigger in the middle, but her belt in those pictures is not actually at her like natural waist. It's a little bit lower, but it's still creating a definition. So again, you can go by these measurements, but you're gonna need to work with your individual client for what's gonna work for them. So that's why it's not really cut and dried. I definitely have, so I have a client that is short, petite, super curvy, definitely bigger in the middle. When we get her dresses, a lot of times the dresses will have like a sash or a band up top, and then the dress is gonna kind of flare out at the bottom. So that it's kind of covering up that middle, and it's creating the balance on top. You have the sash in the middle, even though she's bigger in the middle, and then you have the dress flaring out below. So that's not gonna work for everybody. You're gonna have to kind of do your research, do your homework, knowing these guidelines, and knowing that not every style and shape is gonna work for every person. So you can definitely, so for example, another rule is that if you're bigger on the bottom, you shouldn't wear prints on the bottom, right? Because bigger on the bottom, prints on the bottom, that's where the eye is gonna go, and then it's gonna look unproportionate. However, if you are bigger on the bottom, but you wanna wear prints on the bottom, then what do you need to do up top to balance that out? Just like Christina Hendricks. So this is like not a great example, I guess, because she's bigger on the top, but she had the printed pants, so then also a white top and a scarf, or maybe earrings or something like that. You always need to create that balance. So if you're gonna do something that's against the rules, then you're gonna have to counter. So maybe a jacket on top with a plain shirt and printed pants. That could work really well for someone who's bigger on the bottom. You just have to balance. So once you kind of have, and the way you do that is you take, obviously, the measurements so that you know. So when you're measuring for women on the bust, you're gonna take it on the bust and measure. The waist is actually the smallest part on your body. So if someone is standing up and they bend over, where the waist creases, that's the natural waist that you're gonna measure, okay? You're also gonna measure hips, so that's the biggest part of the body, and then the inseam. So those are the 4 measurements for women. And those give you your guidelines, okay? I like to call them guidelines, because what happens is you have body measurements, body types, but then you also have body shapes. So for example, I have a client that she is technically bigger on the bottom. Her hip measurements are bigger than her bust measurements, but she's petite and she has very broad shoulders. So visually, when you're looking at her, she comes across as bigger on the top than bigger on the bottom, which are her measurements. So if I solely went by her measurements and did like a bunch of stuff on the top half of her body, she's gonna look pretty unproportionate. So you really have to do a good job of looking at the measurements, but also looking at your client's overall shape and then making adjustments accordingly. So with this client, I think some of the issue we had was like blazers needed to be a little bit longer to kind of elongate her top half for some of them. We still did skinny jeans on the bottom. She still did scarves up top and things like that. And that's fine, that worked for her. So there's also the other fine line to where If a client looks good in something, feels good in something, and is 100% confident in something, then they can just freaking wear whatever they want. It doesn't matter, right? Like, I know we do that all the time as stylists. I do that. I'm like, oh, this is really not necessarily quote unquote flattering to my body type, but I really like what I'm wearing. And so, hey, good morning, Sylvie. Good morning, Charlene. Good morning, Raheel. I hope I said that correctly. So it's the same thing for your clients. Your clients obviously are not going to probably have the same level of confidence as you in getting dressed, so you're going to need to maybe work them up to some of those things. I think it's important for clients to know the rules in terms of measurements, for them to know their shape, and then for them to know how they can work around that and wear what they want to wear. Okay, so that's your job as a stylist, is to educate them and let them know there's rules, but these are also not hard and fast rules. Fashion rules are made to be broken and made to be had fun with. That did not come across right. So I think you get my point though, okay? So let me talk briefly about men, and then we'll go to the questions on the Facebook page. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm covering what I wanted to cover. So, I'm pulling up another document so I can show you for men. Again, it's very similar. You're just trying to create the balance. And for men, that quote unquote ideal body shape is going to be the inverted kind of triangle in a way. So I'm going to flip the screen. This is what I give to my guys. So the first one is quote unquote rhomboid proportionate. Broad shoulders and chest, slightly narrower hips, up and down rectangle. So that's kind of more, they're just like a box. Inverted triangle, broader through the shoulders, slimmer through the hips. That's kind of like ideal. Oval is really when men have like a larger stomach, and then regular triangle, bigger on the bottom. Again, same as for women, wide hips, narrower shoulders. I think for a lot of guys, these two are kind of what you see, especially guys that maybe are not in shape. So this is kind of where we're working towards for guys. So these are the shapes you want to create instead of necessarily these. So same sort of thing. You want to just know what your male clients' body types are. And then Paul, maybe I'll tag Paul in this video and he can kind of comment. I think he works with, I know he has female clients, but I think he works with male clients as well. And from his own experience, he can kind of speak to this a little bit. But so for example, if a guy has broader shoulders, or let's see, I'm trying to think about what I was doing with my own client when I was working with him. My client, for example, was bigger in the middle. So we wanted things that were going to help balance the body. So we did a lot of neutral bottoms, belts to help give him a waist, and then shirt details like checkered, plaid, ties, things with buttons, things that he could roll the sleeves that help just kind of create and give more emphasis up top and de-emphasize the bottom. So we're creating, quote unquote, that inverted triangle by neutrals on the bottom and a lot of kind of patterns and colors or plaids or ties, or vests is another thing he's into up top, using the belt to create the waist. So when I worked with my male client, that was my first male client I ever worked with, and so I had to do a lot of research to know how to measure for guys. Guys have a lot more measurements that you have to take. It's not harder, but you do have to educate yourself. So I went to Google, I made myself a Google folder, I read up about styling for men and what their body types were and what the different, like tips and tricks. Like for women, a lot of us stylists, like we are women, and for women, we kind of know those off the top of our head. Men can be a little harder if you don't do that. So again, you just have to Google and study and teach yourself, and then use other resources as they become available. So because I like to send my people examples, this was an example, Seth Rogen, and then who's this other guy, James Corden. They are both examples of bigger in the middle celebrity body types. So I like to send images of that, and then images of where they're well dressed. So even though Seth Rogen is bigger in the middle, that is a look that really balances them out, the plaid and the belt and things like that. So helping guys and give them examples to feel polished. Yeah. All right, let me go to questions. So this is kind of a brief overview, but you really just learn by doing, and you learn by knowing the basic rules, how to break the rules, and understanding that you're creating that visual balance. I think if you can get that in your head that you want to create visual balance between the top and the bottom for your clients, then that's really going to help you. So Marie asked a question. She says, can you include tips on how to dress long torsos and short torsos? So that's kind of goes along with like the body type / shapes. So you really want to just focus on creating, again, that balance. So if you have someone that has a really long torso, then you may need to emphasize more of that high waist than like a higher waist than what you would measure, if that makes sense. Like you may have to adjust where you're quote unquote calling their high waist, because if they have a really long torso, and maybe even the same if they have a short torso, the natural waist may be off. So it may have to be higher, it may have to be lower to really create some of that visual balance. Some things I say to my clients a lot is like, okay, we're gonna do this like style adjustment or things like that, and it may feel uncomfortable because you're not used to wearing things like that, but by us styling it in this way, it's going to visually make you look balanced. Another trick I love using with my clients is if they have put something on, I'm gonna see if I can find this picture to show you. If they put something on and they're like, this is just how I normally wear it, and you take a picture of them in that outfit, that is not a good outfit, and then you do your styling adjustments, and then you take a photograph of them again, and then you show those photographs to them, that is way more powerful than them just looking in a mirror. Something about a photograph, when it reflects back on you, can really show you what's working and what's not working. I'm sorry, I'm looking for this picture of this client because I want to show you 2 examples. So here's a client I worked with. This is how she would normally wear this outfit, right? A top and a skirt. So we made a few adjustments, which, as you guys can guess, means we basically tucked in her shirt. And there you go. So it's not like a huge tuck in or difference. And I really think she maybe just kind of, I think she tucked it in here, but you can see definitely there's just more of a waist here. If this was a different client, maybe a little more fashion savvy, like into fashion, I would probably have the waist come here. But, you know, she's like a mom, normal person. So going from that to that is a big adjustment for her. But when I was able to show her those pictures, it clicked. She was like, oh, okay, like I get it. I get what this is supposed to look like. So that's my answer on that, is you may have to make some adjustments that feel a little uncomfortable. You may have to look a little bit harder for pants, skirts. Things may need to be taken in or worn lower down just to adjust for that. So, all right. Sue, she says, how about hip placement? Is there better ways to dress a high hip versus low hip? I feel like that's kind of actually the same question. So in one, we're talking about torsos, and the other, we're talking about hips. And again, it's just about creating that balance. So Sue, I don't know if you're relating this in conjunction with like waist when you're saying high hip versus low hip, because when I say hip, I think of literally like hips, like and the butt and things like that. But again, you want to just create the balance. So if you, maybe Sue, if you can expound on that question now that I'm looking at it and like thinking through it, I might need a few more details, but I can type out an answer for that. And then Patrice asked a question about stripes. We've been getting so much newness at her store, but is this a trend for every body type? So the rule answer would be that depends on your body type. So, and it depends on where you're putting the stripes. So for example, if you are bigger on the bottom, smaller on the top, then go stripe crazy on the top, right? Because that's going to balance out the bigger hips with a neutral pant and stripes on the top. If you are bigger on the top, then maybe you're going to do some striped pants to balance that out. However, that doesn't mean that you can't wear stripes if like you want. If you're bigger on the top, you can still wear stripes. So what I would encourage people to do with stripes is to look at, one, how big the stripes are or how small they are. So typically if you're a smaller person, you want to do smaller stripes because big stripes can overwhelm the frame. If you're a bigger person, bigger stripes are going to be better because it matches your overall frame. Then there's horizontal versus vertical stripes. A lot of people have hang-ups with horizontal stripes. I think that just depends on the size of the stripes, where they're placed. I'm sorry if you guys hear all these beeps. One tip and trick that I like, that if you are bigger on the top and you want to do stripes, have it be a V-neck, okay? That's going to open up and place less emphasis because there's going to be less fabric up here. So bigger on the top, then V-neck, rock your stripes, go for it. It does also depend. I'm going to show you another photograph. This is fun. I like showing you guys photos of a client, and we were trying to get her some t-shirts. All the t-shirts ended up to be just like not the right fit. She's very petite. She has a defined waist. I want to say she's bigger on the bottom. And so we got her a striped shirt, but it was too big, but it was a V-neck. So overall, the stripes kind of worked, but the shirt itself was too big and not fitted enough, so it didn't work, so we sent it back. Gotta find my picture. Okay. And so this is also, I'm gonna let you guys see. So, example, client in a striped t-shirt. One t-shirt is way too loose. This was from Land's End, and it's like a relaxed fitted tee. She needed a small, and I think it would have worked. But one of the things I liked about this t-shirt was the like ombre effect of the stripes. So, and then the V-neck. So overall, the shirt is flattering, and obviously I would tell her to tuck it up a little bit, right? But if you have like ombre stripes, that's gonna help direct the eye as well. So here helps direct the eye, the lighter stripes up here works really well. So I would look at the colors of the stripes, the way the stripes are situated, and then kind of make that adjustment for the individual body type. I truthfully think that any body can wear anything they want to, as long as they, you know, feel comfortable in it and confident and they like it. And so I think a lot of people have a gut feeling that when things work for them or not work for them. So I did not take pictures of this client, and I wish I did. She's bigger on the bottom. We wanted to get her some pants. We got her these kind of wider leg cropped pants from Everlane. One was in like a blue, what's a good way to describe this blue? One was in like a blue, kind of like this blanket, so like kind of a tealy blue. It wasn't a navy, it was like blue. And then the other was in like an olive green and had kind of pockets, like clearly defined pockets. These other pants had like side pockets. Hope I'm explaining this correctly. And we ended up, the blue ones we did not like. The blue ones made her look bigger on the bottom, I think because of a combination of the colors, and then you had the pockets that like stuck out kind of, you know how those pockets do. And the olive ones worked really well for her, even though initially she wasn't sure because it did have the outline of the pocket on the thighs. She thought that it drew more attention. But it was actually the opposite when she tried them on. And so now she loves those pants and she wears them all the time and they work really great for her. So, and they are kind of a weird, interesting, like cropped wide leg pant, which quote unquote is not necessarily flattering and maybe she shouldn't wear it for her body type, but it works really well. And then she balances out it up top with the right things. So this is basically a Facebook Live to tell you, yes, there are body measurements you can take. Yes, there are certain body shapes, but then figure out what works for your clients based on their level of kind of style confidence. And so some of that comes as the clients grow. So it is important for you as a stylist, 100%, to know the rules and then to know how to break them. I don't know who just laughed at that, but that's, I mean, like literally that's like, that's a lot of style. And I think some people, you know, people want hard and fast answers. So that's why it is important for you as a stylist to know, okay, here's how we're going to take your body measurements. This is what your body type is. However, this is what your body type is, you know, your body shape is showing me. And this is how we're going to balance your particular shape. You need to know those rules so that you can have the authority and confidence to dress your client so that they feel confident in you. And as they get more confident in dressing and you work with them and they're discovering more of their style, you can introduce some more playful elements, or you can introduce some style challenges, push them a little bit once you get through to that. So that is all I have for you today. Let's see what Aubrey says. See more. Aubrey says, I did. It's funny because, oh, you laughed. It's funny because it is a little give and take because each person is unique and comfort levels are different. Totally. 100%. I think I run into that all the time where people think it's very cookie cutter. And I mean, it is to an extent, but it's not. I know I, for example, have talked recently about like how I don't ever wear light wash jeans because I am bigger on the bottom, and light wash jeans just like, I just don't like how they look on me. I do have a pair of light wash jeans that are boyfriend cut. And so because they're boyfriend and like they have the cuff at the bottom, like I feel like that balances me. So you just have, and also like obviously I have a little more like I'll wear whatever I want kind of thing going on with myself. So Aubrey follows up and says, I'm definitely not supposed to wear skinny jeans because I'm an apple, but I love them in balance on top with a flowy top. Exactly. See, you guys, like, it's not hard. Like, wear whatever you want, know the rules, know the suggestions, and then balance it out. And so you can take that with your clients and show them how it works. So let me see. I'm going to go back over to the Facebook page, see if there's any questions that I missed. Oh, Amanda, I did answer your questions about putting a belt on a bigger waist. So I think that's it. Yeah. I wish I could find, I'm going to Google something real quick. So what I wanted to Google was Amanda's question about putting a belt on a bigger waist. Sorry, my face was like right up in the camera. So here's an example. Like obviously, like I don't know exactly what her measurements are. She's obviously like a curvier woman, but she has a belt and it makes a really nice defined silhouette, right? So it is drawing attention to her waist, but not in a way I think that looks bad. So here's kind of another example. Definitely like a bigger kind of in the middle. Again, that belt helps. It's kind of maybe advanced for a lot of our everyday like women. But even things like, so like this, for example, I don't know if that's the best example, truthfully, but that is helping define the waist, where if the cardigan was just open, it would be a little less flattering. Something like, I'm searching for the right example here. Aubrey, if I do a belt, I put it closer under my bust, again, if I'm an apple. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I was saying with the example of my own client is she is an apple, she's bigger in the middle, and any of the sashes or like belts or things like that come up closer under the bust, right? So you can kind of see, I think this is a little bit almost under the bust. Like I feel like her bust is like right there, and then you have your belt. And again, you just explain to the client or you help the client work through like, okay, we're not putting the belt, like if you were wearing pants and had a belt, that's not where we're putting a belt. If you like have a cardigan or you have a dress or a skirt and top situation going on, we're putting the belt basically on your boobs because that is going to visually help balance it out. And so thank you, Aubrey, for chiming in on that. That is what I was trying to say. And it does go back to the point of some things may feel a little uncomfortable to your client until they get adjusted to them. So I feel like this is actually a really great example of how not to do it. Like, I don't know who this person is. It says belt worn on belly. Like that I don't necessarily think is flattering. So with this one, I would just scooch that belt up a little bit. I would maybe do it actually maybe a skinnier belt or like an OB belt or something like that. So that was a good example of, okay, that belt is on the belly. It needs to go up to really help create and define the waist a little bit more. So yeah, I think that is it. I'm going to double check on questions. I don't see any more questions. So I hope this was really helpful for you guys. I know we do talk a lot about more business tips and I love talking about that, but of course you kind of have to, you got to know the basics, and body types and body shapes can be confusing. Aubrey says, I tend to do skinnier belts and sometimes untuck. Yeah. Adjusting the belt size too. I think sometimes we default to thick belts, whereas I think skinny belts, especially if you have that apple shape, can help a lot too. Amanda, you're welcome. Thank you all of you guys for watching. If there's follow-up questions, please put them in the comments. If you guys have thoughts and ideas for other lives, put them somewhere, message me, and let me know. I have a running list of what I want to talk about, things that I think are going to be helpful for you. So please let me know. And I'm gonna go. I have a client call at 10, and I know you guys are probably working, so whatever you guys are working on today, just remind yourself, remember that you are working to serve your clients, give them the best value that you can give them, and it's gonna be amazing. Real quick, Christina chimed in. She said, I just find the smallest part of the waist or torso and a belt to trick the eye. Yep, exactly, Christina. Look for the smallest part, slap a belt on it, and you're good to go. So yeah, thank you guys, and we will chat soon. All right, bye.